Saram students, welcome. Today let us continue with the revision of political science. Lesson number 1, Understanding Diversity. Children, today we will revise about how do we explain diversity and about Ladakh. In our previous class we had revised about what is diversity. Today let us revise about how do we explain diversity. That is the reasons behind diversity. Children, you know that a little more than 200 years ago or long before the train, aeroplane, bus or car became a part of our lives, people they traveled from one part of the world to another in ships, on horses, on camels or on foot. Why did people travel from one place to another but? People went in search of new lands or new places to settle in or for people to trade with. And because they took so long to travel, so once they got to a place, then people they stayed there, often for a long time. And many others, they left their homes because there were famines and drought and they could not get enough to eat. Some went in search of work, while others they left because there was a war. So there were many reasons why people moved from one place to another. And what happened when they made their homes in new places? When people they made their homes in new places, they began to change a little. So their languages, food, music, religions, they all became a mix of the old and the new. And out of this intermixing of cultures came something new and different. And the history of many places, it shows us how many different cultural influences have helped to shape the life and culture there. Thus the regions they became very diverse because of their unique histories. Children, how have the regions become diverse? The regions they have become very diverse because of their unique histories. That means the history of many places, it shows us how many different cultural influences have helped to shape life and culture of that particular region. Similarly, diversity also comes about when people they adapt their lives to the geographical area in which they live. For example, living near the sea is quite different from living in a mountainous area. That means the location of the region is very important. That is, whether it is near the sea or it is near the mountains. So the diversity it comes about when the people they adapt their lives to the geographical area in which they live. And we know that the people they have different clothing and eating habits, but even the kinds of work they do are different. In cities, it is often easy to forget how closely people's lives are tied to their physical surroundings. This is because in the city, people seldom grow their own vegetables and grain, and they depend on the market to buy all the food and other goods that they need. So the people living in the cities, they don't grow their own food. They all depend on the markets to buy all the food and other goods that they need. Now children, let us revise about Ladakh. That is how the historical and geographical factors influence this region. Children, if you look at this map of India, you can see that Ladakh is a desert in the mountains in the eastern part of Jammu and Kashmir. So where is Ladakh? Ladakh is in the eastern part of Jammu and Kashmir. Children, if you look at this place, you can see that very little agriculture is possible here. Why? Because this region does not receive any rain and is covered in snow for a large part of the year. And there are very few trees that can grow in the region. And for drinking water, people depend on the melting snow during the summer months. So, on what did the people depend for drinking water during the summer months? People, they depended on the melting snow during the summer months. Now let us revise what work the people do in Ladakh. That is, the people here, they keep sheep and goats, and the goats in this region are special. Why are the goats special? Because they produce pashmina wool, and this wool is prized. That means it is very expensive, and so pashmina shawls cost a lot of money. And the people in Ladakh, they carefully collect the wool of the goats and sell this to the traders from Kashmir. And the pashmina shawls, they are chiefly woven in Kashmir. So, to whom do these people sell the wool? They sell this wool to the traders from Kashmir. And where are the pashmina shawls chiefly woven? The pashmina shawls are chiefly woven in Kashmir. And the people in Ladakh, they eat meat and milk products like cheese and butter. And each family owns some goats, cows and zoos. What are zoos, children? Zoos are the yak cows. So, what do the people in Ladakh eat? The people in Ladakh, they eat meat and milk products like cheese and butter. And what does each family own? Each family owns some goats, cows and zoos. That is the yak cows. Children, this is the dry, barren landscape of the mountainous desert of Ladakh. Children, we know that Ladakh is a desert. But being a desert, it did not mean that Ladakh did not attract its share of traders. And it was considered a good trade route as it had many passes through which caravans travelled to Tibet. Children, here you can see the picture. What do you mean by caravan? Caravan here, it means that a group of people, especially traders or pilgrims, travelling together across a desert. And these caravans, they carried textiles and spices, raw silk and carpets. And Buddhism, it reached Tibet via Ladakh. And Ladakh is also called as Little Tibet. Children, why was Ladakh considered a good trade route? It was considered a good trade route as it had many passes through which caravans travelled to Tibet. What did these caravans carry with them? These caravans, they carried textiles and spices, raw silk and carpets. And how did Buddhism reach Tibet? Buddhism reached Tibet via Ladakh. And what is Ladakh known as? Ladakh is known as Little Tibet. And Islam was introduced in this region more than 400 years ago. And there is a significant Muslim population here. And Ladakh has a very rich oral tradition of songs and poems and local versions of the Tibetan national epic, the Kesar Saga, are performed and sung by both Muslims and Buddhists. Children, when was Islam introduced in this region? Islam was introduced in this region more than 400 years ago, and there is a significant Muslim population here. And which tradition does Ladakh have? Ladakh has a very rich oral tradition of songs and poems. And what are performed and sung by both Muslims and Buddhists? Local versions of the Tibetan national epic, the Kesar Saga, are performed and sung by both Muslims and Buddhists. Now children, it's time for a quiz. Tick the correct options. First one. Pashmina shawls are chiefly woven in dash. A. Ladakh, B. Kashmir, C. Assam, D. Kerala. What is the correct answer, children? Yes, B. Kashmir. Pashmina shawls are chiefly woven in Kashmir. Second one. Ladakh is a desert in the mountains in the eastern part of dash. A. Tamil Nadu, B. Maharashtra, C. Uttar Pradesh, D. Jammu and Kashmir. What is the correct answer, children? Yes, D. Jammu and Kashmir. Ladakh is a desert in the mountains in the eastern part of Jammu and Kashmir. Third one. In cities, people depend on the dash for all the food and other goods that they need. A. Farms, B. Markets, C. Villages, D. Countryside. What is the correct option? Yes, B. Markets. In cities, people depend on the markets for all the food and other goods that they need. Fourth one. The dash carried textiles and spices, raw silk and carpets. A. Caravans, B. Ships, C. Buses, D. Trains. What is the correct option? Yes, A. Caravans. The caravans carried textiles and spices, raw silk and carpets. Fifth one. On which source do the people of Ladakh depend for drinking water? A. Sea, B. Rivers, C. Melting of snow, D. None of these. What is the correct option? Yes, C. Melting of snow. So the people of Ladakh, they depend on melting of snow for drinking water. Sixth one. Dash reached Tibet via Ladakh. A. Jainism, B. Buddhism, C. Islam, D. Sikhism. What is the correct option, children? Yes, B. Buddhism. Buddhism reached Tibet via Ladakh. Children, today we have completed the revision of part 2. We shall continue with the revision of part 3 of this lesson in our next class. Till we meet again, goodbye children.